And we are back. Welcome back to what is always my favourite video of the week. It is time for the Europa League and the Europa Conference League predictions video. Firstly, thank you for all the support you've continued to give the channel while I've been away on holiday over the last few days. It's been a very interesting set of days, of course. The Asian Cup final, the AFCON final, and then, of course, 2 nights of Champions League action. So, like I say, thank you for all the support you have given those videos, and hopefully the pre-recordings didn't make it too difficult for you to distinguish what I was meaning. And you know what? I did pretty well across all of those matches as well. Obviously, the biggest shocks of those few days, the Ivory Coast victory in the AFCON final, and then Lazio beating Bayern Munich last night in what was an incredible performance from them and quite a shoddy performance from Bayern. Be interesting to see what happens in the second leg of that coming up. But today, of course, it is all about the round of 32, the bonus round in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. So before we get into it, as always, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy my predictions series, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Premier League predictions will, of course, be back tomorrow, followed by Manchester United reactions returning this weekend as well. And then, of course, we'll have all of the next round of Champions League and the second legs of these round of 32 Europa games next week as well. Without any further ado, let's get cracking. So, we start off with the Europa League, as we always do now. Obviously, as I said, I only got back from holiday last night, so I've not had time to put all the badges and all the other funky stuff I normally do on the graphics for these videos. But we have got the team names listed out for you. And we'll start off with Feyenoord taking on Roma, as we have all of the Champions League relegated teams at home against the Europa League second place teams on the right for this opening round. And my word, Feyenoord and Roma must be sick of the sight of each other, because of course they played each other in the first ever Europa Conference League final 2 seasons ago. They then played each other in the semi-finals of the Europa League last year, and here they are again playing each other in the round of 32 of the Europa League this year. Now, both occasions in the previous 2 seasons, Roma did come out on top over the course of the 2 legs in the semi and, of course, the 1-legged final. Feyenoord since then have impressed over the last couple of seasons, building up from their performance in that initial Europa Conference League. And obviously, Roma themselves have recently changed manager. It's no longer the Jose Mourinho era. It is now the Daniele De Rossi era. So it's hard to really judge where this one's going to go, because I think both sides at the moment are sort of in different places to where they were in previous times. So I think given the fact that both sides are a little bit more free scoring since when they previously met each other, and because of how tight this game is going to be, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in the opening fixture, and we'll see what happens. I really think this one is completely up for grabs. Next up is Galatasaray taking on Sparta Prague. Galatasaray, of course, a constant reminder to myself as being the team that got relegated from Manchester United's group, of course, with Manchester United crashing out altogether, and Sparta Prague finishing second in their Europa League group. For me, this one's a little bit more one-sided, especially with Galatasaray being the side at home first. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Galatasaray. I think they're the far stronger side going into this one, and this could be a case of tie over in the opening leg. Next up, it is Shakhtar Donetsk taking on Marseille, this game being played in Germany tonight. And look, Shakhtar have a very, very good record in their home fixtures when it comes to European football. We've seen it, of course, this season already in the Champions League, especially in that game against Barcelona. Marseille not performing to the levels that we saw from them last season in Ligue 1 or in Europe. So I think this is going to be a tight one. I think Shakhtar will have the edge in this opening fixture. I'm going to go for 2-1 to them, but I think this could be a really tight one. Could be one that goes all the way to extra time and penalties in the second leg. Next up, it is the Young Boys taking on Sporting Lisbon. For me, again, a tough one to call, but I think Sporting, despite not having the best of seasons domestically so far this season, should still be the stronger side going into this one. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to them. Young Boys at the moment not really performing very well themselves and not scoring as many goals as you'd expect. So I'm going to go for that 2-0 win to Sporting. Next up, it is AC Milan taking on Rennes, probably the biggest side that got relegated from the Champions League, obviously coming out of that group of death with PSG, Dortmund and Newcastle. And they take on Rennes, my so rare Ligue 1 side that I care so much about. And my word, I was annoyed when I saw they got AC Milan, but it is what it is. Rennes, to their credit, since changing managers, are unbeaten now in their last 9 matches. So It's not going to be an easy game for AC Milan by any stretch of the imagination, but Milan themselves have played well recently, good results in big games recently. So I'm going to go 2-1 to AC Milan. That might be a little bit generous to Rennes because obviously I've got a little soft spot for them, but we'll see. Like I say, unbeaten in 9 could cause some problems for AC Milan tonight. We shall see. Staying in France, or staying with the French side being away, we have Toulouse now taking on Benfica. Benfica having a fantastic season this season. Toulouse doing okay in League One, but not great. So for me, Benfica should really be the strong favourites going into this. I'm going to go for 3-1. They do tend to leak goals, Benfica. Toulouse tend to nick goals. So I can see them getting one. It's just going to be a case of how many Benfica get the other way. And now we stay with the Portuguese side being at home as we have Braga taking on Qarabag. And again, for me, this should be a game that Braga are winning. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to them. Qarabag, not the best side going forward. Braga, a very good defensive side. So I think 2-0 is just about right. And then finally, we have Lens taking on Freiburg. Again, a tough one to call. Really mixed form from both of these sides domestically in their respective leagues at the moment. So at the end of the day, I've got to look at it from the perspective of Lens are the side, they're at home. I'm going to go for 2-0 to them. Again, they've been able to rediscover their defensive form that saw them do so well in Ligue 1 last season, and I think that's contributed them to getting back up the table a little bit so far over the last few weeks. So for me, it's going to be a 2-0 win for Lens, and that is going to be all of my predictions for the Europa League round of 32 first legs taking place tonight. Take one last final look at them before we then move over to, of course, everyone's favourite competition, the Europa Conference League, which we will kick off with right now. And we start off with those 4 early kickoffs once again. It is Molde taking on Legia Warsaw. And, I mean, this is a really tough one to call because both of these sides at the moment are not playing some very good stuff at the moment. I can see this being a really, really narrow and tight game. So, to be honest with you, I'm just going to go for a 2-1 win to Molde. I think I've just gone for the classic case of these sides are very mixed. They're very even overall. So I'm just going to go for 2-1 to the home team. I was very tempted to go for a 1-1 draw, but I just think Molde should be the slight favourites going into this one. Next up, it is Olympiakos of Greece taking on Ferencváros of Hungary. Again, tight to call, but I think you'd have to say Olympiakos are the stronger side on paper. They have some better players overall. And of course, they've got that advantage of going first in the home leg. As always, let me know your thoughts on whether or not home leg is an advantage first or second, because I think they always try and make it where the team is benefited by having the away leg first and then the home leg second. But I think in certain matchups, it just makes more sense to have the stronger team away. I don't know. It's a bit convoluted as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to go for a massive high-scoring game this one. Olympiakos, I'm going 3-2 for. Like I say, both of these sides, you would expect Olympiakos to win. But again, when you look at the actual fixtures that these sides have had recently, they've both had like 5-3s and 4-2s, and this could be a fun game, this one. I'm going for 3-2. Next up, it's Sturm Graz taking on Slovan Bratislava. Another tight one to call, the Austrian side taking on Bratislava. Again, really tough to place this one in terms of who should really be coming out on top. For me, though, I'm going to go for a draw. I just can't split them right now. Sturm Graz are probably going to be the favourites for this. Again, if you go on actual what's on paper in terms of players and status as things stand right now. But again, I look at the current form of these two sides and I really think that Slovan are going to get a result tonight. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. You could potentially see Slovan get the actual win tonight, but we'll see. Like I say, really tough one to call this. And speaking of tough ones to call, we have Union Saint-Gilloise taking on Frankfurt, the current Belgian league leaders, taking on a very strong Bundesliga side, and probably a draw that neither of these sides wanted. Frankfurt would have wanted easier opposition than Union, and Union would have wanted easier opposition than Frankfurt. Now, Union, like I just said, are currently top of the Belgian league, but recent form has not been good. Frankfurt, again, playing well in the Bundesliga, but results not really going their way at the moment either. So, as much as I would like to say that Frankfurt should probably be considered the favourites, given they have the likes of Mario Götze in their lineup and someone that I really like, the young Moroccan Chaibi, I just think this is going to be a game that goes all the way. I think it's going to be a tight one tonight, and then we'll see what happens next week. So as with the previous fixture, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw there. Next up, it is Ajax taking on everyone's favourite double team in Bodo Glimt. To be honest, if you'd have given me this fixture a few months ago when the actual group stages ended, I think this would have been a lot tighter. But since Ajax have had their resurgence over the last couple of months, they've been winning games, they've been playing well. Yes, they did lose at the weekend, but it was a 3-2 defeat. They are scoring goals for fun at the moment. They are leaking still, just a little bit, but they are scoring a lot more freely than they had been. So I'm going to go for 4-1 to Ajax. I don't think this is going to be too much of a contest for them, but we'll see. Bodo Glimt have got some big results over the last few seasons. This could be another one for them tonight. For me, this is going to be a comfortable win for Ajax. Next up, it's Maccabi Haifa taking on Ghent, the Israeli side playing in Hungary tonight due to the ongoing conflicts. Obviously, again, the Belgian side's in action. That's where I was over the last few days. So I've got a little bit more of a soft spot for a couple of the Belgian teams that I've witnessed over the last few days. But I don't know. I still think this is probably a game that is going to go in the favour of Maccabi Haifa. Defensively, both of these sides are pretty decent, especially Maccabi Haifa and especially at home. Again, I know it's not at home, but you know what I mean. I still think they're going to be the side that comes out on top. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to them. Next up, it is Real Betis taking on Dinamo Zagreb. Betis, a side that I don't really think should be in this position. I think they've really underperformed in their Europa League group. They probably should have won their Europa League group. To have finished third and dropped into the Europa Conference League, probably not what they would have wanted. So they may approach this game with a little less respect than they probably should, as they've already approached the Europa League, probably with a little bit less respect than they probably should. So it could leave an opening for Dinamo Zagreb in this fixture. But I have to go on the premise that Betis are going to play their strongest team and go for the win. So with that said, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Betis. But like I say, who knows? Dinamo could produce something tonight. And then finally, it is the Swiss side, Servette, taking on the Slovakian side in Ludogorets. Another tough fixture to call, but again, recent form over domestically and recent competition form of these two sides, for me, just leans it in favour of Servette. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for them. Both sides, very, very good defensively. When I look at the head-to-head of these, both sides do not concede a lot of goals. I was very tempted to go for a 0-0. But you know I don't like going for 0-0s, so I'm going to go for 1-0 to Servette. And that is going to be it for these predictions for today. That is going to wrap up my Europa League and Europa Conference League predictions. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the return of the Premier League fixtures. I will see you then.